I had a lady call me and she's like, it was last year. She goes, Mark, I get this itch on my arm that every other week it's debilitating. I'm bleeding. I can't stop. What is it? She goes, doctors don't know what it is. I go, well, I don't either. So run allergy and try general inflammation, and it went away. Now, I've had multiple doctors call me and tell me this all happened last summer. They went, this thing is kicking butt for MS. I'm like, multiple sclerosis? I go, yes. I go, I don't have a protocol for that. I go, what are you using? Fibromyalgia? And they went, yep. So all of them looked at it, and I've got people doing that, looking at it going, okay, it's close to this. But like general inflammation is a big one. If it's toxicity, run the liver support. Well, boy, they range from $20,000 machines that look like a beer keg on rolling wheels and stuff to mine's in the 300. Mine retails for $399. We do discounts and stuff sometimes to $249. So it's in that price range of $250 to $400. There's a handful of competitors out there near me. A lot of them are going to be $600 to $800.
Welcome to the show, Mark. Thanks for being on.
Thank you for having me. This is great.
So let's just start off by, could you share what got you into entrepreneurship and what is the current business you're running?
Well, entrepreneurship, I didn't like consciously really think about it. I mean, I'm older dude, as you can tell. I'm 62, and I grew up in the conventional world, did what everyone told you to go do, as your parents told you, go to college, get a job in corporate 500 companies, blah, blah. So I did that. I was a rocket scientist. I thought maybe I'd be working for Dow or DuPont because I was a chemical engineer. It was my undergraduate. But nobody was hiring anyone at the year I graduated, and we were hanging drywall. And my friend's a nuclear physicist. I was hanging drywall with him. And we were making like $3.50 an hour, which is insane. And somebody said, hey, at Kennedy Space Center, where I live, is a company got a new contract for the space shuttle production. And they said, did you put your resume out there? I'm like, no, never heard of them. So I did that, assuming that I would be, in that industry for 6 months or something. But I ended up being there 16, 17 years. But I love working on the space shuttle, but it was because it's cool technology, but it's boring when it comes to creativity because you're not allowed to change anything. They don't really want, NASA doesn't want it to be any better. They want it to work like it did last time, right? So that was always frustrating. So I tried to go get out of that before I got to a point, which is one of the weird things that most people, you don't hear this from a lot of people. I quit that job because I got offered a big promotion. And I was like, if I take that promotion, I'll never get out of this industry because then you're captive, right? So I went over to make parts for airplanes and stuff for Parker Hannifin, and then that still wasn't real different. And then I went to iOmega, so anyone that can remember a zip drive from the late 90s. So I got into that part of it. And so that was still corporate world, but that was more of a entrepreneurial startup company. But what me got into what I'm doing today is I just 20 something years ago, I was teaching some creative thinking, and I just kind of quit and said, I'm just going to go try and work for myself just because I wanted the chance to try and do something different where I was my own boss. I mean, that's kind of what got me into it. So I did that for a while. I still do that, teach creative thinking and do keynote lectures. That's hard work. It's hard work finding gigs. It's good pay when you find them. But so then I got my dog about 25 years ago now. She couldn't come upstairs. She just started crying one morning. So we ended up flipping a coin to see who wasn't going to work that day, me or my wife, right? And she ended up having severe arthritis in her spine. And a veterinarian, good friend of mine who was a veterinarian, he wasn't my vet for my dog, but we were friends. And he's like, hey, there's this lady has this magic technology that can reverse arthritis. I'm like, okay. So I kind of dove into it, looked into it. Our dog got too sick too fast, so unfortunately we didn't get to treat her with it. But I'm a skeptic, right? I'm a rocket scientist. I'm like, energy and frequencies, how can you make things better with that? And I get it from the standpoint of just physics, everything vibrates and stuff, but it was, one of those skeptical things. I don't know if that can help with health, right? So I kind of dove into it. I'm still skeptical after 25 years, but there's enough data out there to show this is real. In fact, the doctor said to me the other day, he goes, PEMF, so pulse electromagnetic fields, it's just one mode of energy therapy. And his comment was, PEMF is not on trial, Mark. Is if somebody questions that it is, they haven't done any research, because there are like 35,000 published papers out there. So what made me really bite the bullet with it was I saw all these different health related things that could help people live well with, and that's the right terminology you got to use. You can't diagnose, treat, or cure anything, but you can help people live well with their condition, meaning they got diabetes, you can lower the blood sugar, right? If they've got back pain, they self-report going from an 8 to a 3, right? So I saw the main one that I tagged onto was PTSD and the 44 suicides a day in the United States of military, right? So it's 22 military veterans a day, 15 first responders, 5 medical worker, and 2 active duty. It's 44 suicides a day from mental health, right? Just PTSD and trauma. And that's not counting all the other civilians outside of the ones I just said. So that's the main arrow that got me going after this. Was I thought it was criminal that this solution existed for these people, but it's being held hostage in a doctor's office with expensive equipment where you right yet. And so a lot of people couldn't afford that. So my entrepreneurship there was, I know I'm a chemical engineer undergraduate, not an electrical engineer, but I know there's got to be a way to make an affordable device. And, it looks like that. It looks like an old, this is like lanyard you wear around your neck or you just put in your pocket, but it's, smaller than a cell phone. And you just turn it on, you pick whatever protocol you want, you hit play, and you put it in your pocket, or you wear it with a lanyard around your neck. So that's how I got into that, was just trying to make something affordable. And I naively, so a message to your entrepreneurs is don't give up. Because I naively went in and said, hey, this has got to be easy. Just take a coil and a little amplifier and a battery. Well, after they catch on fire and the engineers can't figure them out, and it's like, I finally figured out that what it really is, because the protocols that we make make them on a music synthesizer. So actually the file is an MP3. So the device is really an MP3 player. It just doesn't make sound for your ears because it has no speakers. It has a coil in it. I can show you the inside of it. It looks like that. It has a coil instead of 2 coils instead of a speaker. So the MP3 is played through that coil that makes a pulse electromagnetic field. So that's kind of a unique angle. Is I don't know anyone else that's doing that, that's using an MP3 file to deliver energy therapy. Maybe they are. But so yeah, it kind of came back full circle to all these other engineers can't build this. It catches on fire and it gets too hot, blah, blah, blah. So it's a music player, and then it's just your body can hear it. Yeah, your body hears the energy, but your ears don't necessarily. I mean, it makes a little bit of vibration sound if you put up to your. That's kind of my entrepreneurship path for this particular product. I tried a lot of things. I know enough about DNA to be dangerous, so I've made music and art from DNA. I've done a lot of different businesses and tried it, and there just wasn't enough. The industry didn't care, or there wasn't enough margin for me to market, right? So one thing I would tell all entrepreneurs is, just mentally on paper, what is the minimum viable product, your MVP? What's the simplest thing you can do and get it out there and let people give you feedback? They're not always going to be right, but go find out what assumptions you're making that are probably wrong. And I made a lot of bad assumptions about what people might want. And so just don't spend a bunch of time and money. I mean, old story, but when the Palm Pilot first came out, when it was being developed, the inventor just walked around with a wooden block and a toothpick. That was it. Nothing worked. He just tried to get feedback from people pretending it was real, right? So long answer to your first question, but it's like, yeah, for entrepreneurs, is how do you get out there and test it fast, and how do you fail in 2 weeks? So get in the mindset that you're constantly going to experiment, you're constantly going to fail, and just be surprised when you actually succeed, right? And just because I do that all the time when I teach my creative thinking classes, is companies, employees that get too bogged down on, I need an 8-month test to go do. No, you don't. you can talk yourself out of it so fast by making it too long and too expensive. So use that mindset. How can I fail in 2 weeks? And just go out there and keep testing stuff.
Okay, makes sense. Yeah. So basically, you had an idea, you saw an opportunity, and then you also felt this sort of this personal nature to the problem, which is like, this is criminal. 44 people committing suicide every day just because this is too expensive. So you wanted to make it affordable. So what is the difference in price range between your product and competitors?
Well, boy, they range from $20,000 machines that look like a beer keg on rolling wheels and stuff to mine's in the 300. Mine retails for $399. We do discounts and stuff sometimes to $249. So it's in that price range of $250 to $400. There's a handful of competitors out there near me. A lot of them are going to be $600 to $800. Be careful, because most of the ones in the $250 range, that's the cost of the product. They're going to charge you $30 a month subscription fee to use it afterwards. Now, I actually, again, building some stuff, getting feedback, and then killing it is all companies love recurring revenue, right? It's guaranteed revenue I get coming every month. Every company loves it for that reason. Every consumer in the world hates it. Okay, even when I buy something, it's a yearly subscription. The day I buy it, I put it on my calendar, check a year from now and make sure you're still using this thing or kill it, right? So I built the whole system around the subscription model, and then it just hit me one day. I mean, I spent 8 months on it, building it. I was done with it. It's like exactly what I just said. All companies love it. All consumers hate it. So I just killed it. Got rid of all the subscriptions before we even started. So yeah, there are a handful in this price range of $250 to $350. Most of them are not. They're going to be $1,000 or so. But again, the ones that do are going to have. I think my closest competitor that has very similar thing is probably $3,200, the price of their product. So, and then of course I get a bunch of feedback at $250 or $300, way too expensive still. I'm like, okay. And when people go, yeah, criminal, it can't cost that much. It doesn't cost that much. All the marketing, Zuckerberg has all the money. Okay, Facebook and Google ads are extremely expensive. They cost a lot more than the product to make. So yeah, you have to charge some margin because right now I'm not profitable. I don't pay myself anything. I don't have any salary compensation. I borrowed money from my wife to go develop this thing, right? So hopefully someday I'll make money off it, but right now, no. Any cash flow that we get, we end up designing new products and doing more clinical trials just to try and keep showing how it works. So, but yeah, that's probably the biggest.
So it sounds like.
What's that?
I was just going to say, it sounds like you're going direct to consumer, but your target market are like veterans and people in service to the government. So would it make sense to market this to like VA hospitals or anything like that?
So to clarify, I started that way, going after military, but just for the PTSD and trauma piece of it. But honestly, more than half of the customers are in the PTSD world are civilian women. They've got a crappy husband, boyfriend, miscarriages, kids suck, life. Okay, so that's just one piece of it, PTSD. But there's PTSD, anxiety, back pain, blood sugar. There's like 59 core protocols and another 70 expansion protocols on there. So there's a lot of them. So I just targeted the PTSD to start with, but and the military is not the main target I'm going after. But we have a lot of success there. We have like over 95 to 98% success rate with PTSD. We did have, and to answer your second part of your question about going to Veterans Administrations, it's the government, right? So there is a PTSD department in the VA. And I've talked to them multiple times, super nice people, but they're like, we can't sponsor anything. So even then, when I was giving them away for free to get test data and stuff, they're like, we still can't sponsor. So there's VSOs, Veteran Service Organizations, and we are partnered with several of them to try and get it out to the military. But some of those are rough too, right? Is they've got their methods and they really want money. straight money and cash to help the nonprofits and stuff. So, but it's fingers crossed. We'll see what happens. I have an inside connection to the Pentagon, and they've been reviewing it for the last couple of months. And one 2-star general said, if this really works for PTSD, and it does, he goes, every serviceman should have it as standard issue, like boots and a blanket. So that happens, a lot of my problems go away as far as if the military makes it some kind of standard product. But it's we're getting into some really cool things. I mean, it's for people and pets. So dogs, we have a bandana that you just slide the device in. So dogs with separation anxiety, relax and balance, allergies, those things, and horses. So we have just started really, and they're getting a lot of success with it. Is basically it's called an EquiFit band, but essentially it's a cell phone holder with a 30-inch elastic that goes around the horse's neck. And so we're doing a lot of stuff like that with your vagus nerve, which is cranial nerve that comes from your brain. It goes down both sides of your neck, and it's actually a cluster of it in your chest, and it attaches to every organ, every part of your body. Vagus nerve stimulation, or what I'm calling massage, because stimulation sounds a little rough, it's much, much lower energy, is getting huge results. One of our competitors / friends, because he's one of the good guys, his company realized, just like me, the rising tide lifts all ships. We both want to be successful. They just did the largest vagus nerve study ever for PTSD or for PEMF. I think it's 438 people. And so they confirmed what I've been telling people about which frequencies to use for vagus nerve. So we're starting to play with that a lot too. And the vagus nerve helps with lots of things: sleep, digestion, better oxygenation of your blood, on and on and on and on. So there's a lot of research going on that. We just started the vagusnerveresearch.com website, and I'm using that with ChatGPT, and I'm curating all these different studies that have been done around the world around the vagus nerve. And so, yeah, it's exciting. There's some cool stuff. Again, I'm not a doctor or a rocket scientist, so I can't diagnose, treat, or cure anything, but you can help somebody live well with the condition.
So I'm curious, how does PEMF actually work? Why is it that different frequencies have different effects? How is it discovered? Did they just trial and error different frequencies and see the results? Or is there a mechanistic understanding of which bands do what to the body?
Yes and no, and I'll tell you what I think we know. Okay? So magnetic therapy has been around for 3,500 years that we know of. It was called lodestones. It was rocks that got hit by lightning. So Hippocrates, ancient Greeks, all this stuff, they all used magnetic therapy for health-related stuff. In the last 100 years or so, it's got discovered that a pulse electromagnetic field is way more therapeutic, even maybe 100 times more therapeutic. So that's why it caught on. Unfortunately, what happened in the United States only, a report called the Flexner Report came out in 1910 and then 1934. If you weren't doing surgery or drugs, you would lose your medical license. So no electrical stimulation, no electrical energy therapy was allowed. And so every other country in the world, not everyone, but the advanced countries, right, they all kept studying it when we didn't. Where this came, and then I'll qualify this too because this makes the doctors angry. You don't know how aspirin works. Nobody knows how it works, and nobody knows how any drug works. You have theories, but you've never proven it. Right, so even aspirin that's been around for 3,000 years, people don't know how it works. In general, what we think happens is, this is known. The cells in your body have a charge on them like a car battery. It's a voltage. And when that voltage gets low, you get sick. Right? This recharges your cells' batteries. That's been proven. They've shown that. And then ATP, which is adenosine triphosphate, it's the number one chemical that your cells use for food, for energy. It has increased ATP up to 500%. So those two simple things at the highest level is it's recharging your cells' batteries, it's giving your body more food so your body can heal itself. Now, again, back to, can you prove it works that way? Nah, it's hard, right? And I always make this analogy. People go, what? It's like, have you ever heated a piece of or slice of pizza in a microwave? Yeah, and then they kind of know it's a trick question. You know how that works? Yeah, well, microwaves bounce around. They do, right. So the theory is that you're hitting a water molecule, and it's the rotational energy of a water molecule. It's going to make it spin on its own axis, so it's causing friction that heats up the food. Nobody in the world has ever photographed or videotaped a spinning water molecule. It's still a theory, right? You can't go prove it, but we all microwave food and eat pizza. So it works and it has effects. So I've always kind of pushed, number one, make sure you're not hurting anyone. So we've done all kinds of ridiculous safety testing. It's to put it in perspective, okay? This device, as far as the frequency, is 1 to 1,000 hertz. That's a million. Okay, this is a million times higher frequency. Your TV is 100,000 times higher than this. It's super, super, super low energy. Ultra, ultra, ultra low energy. It's 1 to 1,000 hertz. And if you put the spectrum of, when you go to the dentist and you put lead apron on you to get an x-ray, that's 10 to the 12th power hertz. Okay, so this is so, so low. It shouldn't have an effect, but it does. So, I mean, we don't know anything about it, so my main goal is to make sure you don't hurt anyone. And number two is I don't want to sell voodoo. So we're constantly out there trying to test it. It's nothing in the world is going to be 100% for everybody, right? But this has been around. There's 35,000 papers out there. You can just go to PubMed, type in PEMF. You're going to get overwhelmed with it. We have tons of it on our website. And so you can go down that rabbit hole as much as you want. I've written a book called What on Earth Are We Doing to Our Health? So it's a simple ebook that keeps it relatively simple, explaining what it is and resonance and those things. But it's the other way it travels through your whole body. Again, theory is it's resonating with the water in your body. So like throwing a pebble in a pond, because the magnetic field by itself is not strong enough to go from my chest to my foot. It just drops off too fast. It's what magnetic fields do. But it still gets to your foot from your pocket. Because you can see gout go away, you can see an injured toe get healed much faster, right? So, and it can treat pain in your ankle from your pocket. So it's resonating with the water in your body, we think. And the clue there is if you're not hydrated, it doesn't work quite as well. And then your body, your skin, your organs are all electrically conductive. They have high resistance, but alternating magnetic field, you remember from high school class, is going to make an alternating electric current, vice versa. So there's a very small electrical current coming out. You can't feel, but it's going to travel through your skin and organs that way. And my other theory, nobody else is saying this, is magnetite, which is a magnetic element, is in your cells. And it's what's believed that sea turtles and birds and all that can vibrate. They have more than we do, but we have it. So I think it travels some with, magnet to a magnet, right? It's transferring the energy that way. But I babbled too long. I even forgot what your question is now. Did I answer it?
Yeah, I think so. So we don't exactly know how it works, but we've seen some results. I guess, yeah, how did we determine which protocols or frequencies have which results? Was it pure trial and error?
Yeah, mostly. So specific, and there's all the different devices out there have lots of different. It's more complex than that. It's like frequencies versus waveform, right? Is it a square wave, seesaw wave? Is it a ramp square, right? So there's a lot of different waveforms and frequencies and magnitude, right? So you think about it real quick. Think about its energy transfer. Think of a surfer in the ocean. The amount of waves it gets per second is the frequency, and how tall is a wave is the magnetic strength or the amplitude. So little bitty waves coming every few minutes is not much energy. 1,000 tsunamis a second is a lot of energy, right? So these are both super low energy, but you can think about it that way. Where most of these specific ones came from is their frequency pairs. So roughly frequency A is where is it, and B is what's wrong with it, okay? But think of it as a song. So you have frequency pair as a chord, right, on a guitar, and it's changing every 1 to 4 minutes, depending on the protocol, and they're all completely different. So the protocols are songs, the frequency pairs are chords, or you can look at it from cooking recipes, right? Is trial and errors. I add some oregano, I put some thyme in there, I took out garlic, right? And so these came from originally a lady found an old machine, and I just told you all that history got lost because we stopped doing it in 1934. So in like 1990, she found an old machine with a card on it that basically said 40 hertz inflammation, blah, blah, hertz vitality, and started playing with it. From that, she trained a bunch of people. I'm one of them. And 8,000 people in the last 35 years have been experimenting with it. So most of the protocols I have, not all of them anymore, it used to be all of them, are coming from those core protocols that have been proven in a clinical environment with doctors. So then people go, why are there millions and millions and millions of papers out there? Because practicing doctors don't write papers, right? They treat people. They don't publish. Universities and stuff do, right? So, but there's still tons and tons and tons of papers out there. But that's where they come from, and nobody knows exactly, like, but it's still experimenting. I mean, I'm doing that every day where I have people in this community that have been around a long time. They'll go, hey, good example. Again, I can't diagnose, treat, or cure anything. However, I don't even know what Lyme disease is and know anything about it, and I'm getting bombarded by people going, do you have anything for Lyme? Do you have anything for Lyme? Do you have anything for Lyme? Like, no. So start researching it. Who else is doing this? Come to find out, 1 to 4 hertz is killing the bacteria. Lyme is a very clever pain in the butt condition to have because you kill it and it releases poison, right? And so there's words for that and stuff. But it's like it doesn't want to die, so it can make people sicker. But anyway, trying to find that magic formula for Lyme and do it safely is trial and error. Nobody's got that. There's no playbook for Lyme. There's lots of conditions and stuff out there where I'm gonna say it wrong. It's like ICBPS, it's interstitial, it's bad stomach aches, right? So I was on a Zoom call with a top doctor in the country on this condition, and he gave me, the lecture forever about double-blind studies. I'm like, great, let's go get all the funding, do all that. 5 hours later, he came back and said, forget what I said, because we have no solution at all. All we can give them is Oxycontin, right, and painkillers. They're addictive. We don't want to do that. So give me a dozen of them. Let me go try it. Right. So there's still a lot of experimentation going on it. I'm trying to stay away from that for the most part because, again, I'm not a doctor, but it's awful to get on a Zoom call with a dozen people that have Lyme disease when I've never had anyone in my circle, any of my friends or family ever have Lyme disease. To see how much these people are suffering, it's horrific. It's awful. It is. Your listeners and me and you don't want Lyme disease.
Yeah.
I'm looking like for ticks every time I go outside now.
I'm glad I live in a place without ticks. Yeah.
Yeah, it's some scary stuff. So.
Okay, this is interesting. So I have psoriasis. Do you know what that is?
Yes.
Okay, autoimmune condition. So has this shown any effect on autoimmune conditions?
Yes, but not that the technology is there for it. I don't have it. I have immune support, so I have the opposite. So if you have an autoimmune thing, I'm saying don't run immune support because it's going to jack up your immune support. But for psoriasis, there's skin condition ones. So psoriasis, actually, I said there's 59 protocols and then 70 expansion protocols that repurpose these 5 brainwave protocols. I actually think psoriasis is one of them. I got to double check, but I think it's in that list. But a lot of times people contact me and go, hey, you got anything for this? And it's like ASRP, I don't know what it is. I Google it, and then you just look at what's the underlying cause. It usually takes about, this is going to scare people, but it takes about 5 seconds. You see what's the underlying cause. 80% of the time, it's inflammation.
I think it's inflammation with this as well.
Yeah, so just run general inflammation, see if it helps. I had a lady call me, and she's like, this last year, she goes, Mark, I get this itch on my arm that every other week, it's debilitating, I'm bleeding, I can't stop. What is it? She goes, doctors don't know what it is. I go, well, I don't either. So run allergy and try general inflammation, and it went away. Now, I've had multiple doctors call me and tell me, this all happened last summer. They went, this thing is kicking butt for MS. I'm like, multiple sclerosis? I go, yes. I go, I don't have a protocol for that. I go, what are you using? Fibromyalgia? And they went, yep. So all of them looked at it, and I've got people doing that, looking at it going, okay, it's close to this, but like General inflammation is a big one. If it's toxicity, run the liver support. If it's nerve related, run fibromyalgia. If it's anything to do with brain fog or vertigo, okay, just last week, this woman's crying because she's had vertigo for 2 decades and she has none now.
Wow.
Right? She just ran the brain balancing one. So the brain balancing one used to be called concussion, but it does so many other things that I just called it brain balancing. And if this doesn't raise a hair in your arms, I've told this story 10,000 times. A 17-year-old girl said, Mark, on a Zoom call, she goes, I will never have a date in my life because I have Tourette's. I'm a monster at school. I get bullied every day. Boys think I'm awful. Nobody's ever going to ask me out. She goes, I ran brain balancing. My Tourette's are gone. And I have a date Saturday night.
Wow.
That was 2 years ago. She's engaged to the guy now. To my knowledge, she's never had her Tourette's anymore. Now, I don't have an N factor 400 sample size to go see, but that happened to one person. I've got a guy with this tone of voice. Old man called me. I'm not an old man, 62. He called me up and he goes, Mark, we used your little gadget on my wife because she has dementia and she can't speak. She can't make any sense. Now she can talk and complete sentences and she's hanging out with her friends, right? So I go, dude, is that really your energy level of your wife can talk or you do not want her to speak or what? But it was like that kind of stuff that people are looking at going, and then if your body doesn't need the energy, it just doesn't use it. And if you don't have the right frequencies, it's interesting. Dog will tell you. A dog and a cat and a horse will tell you. They'll walk away from it if you got the wrong protocol. Humans aren't that smart. For example, I never had sciatica in my life, and I had every way it's described in my right leg. So I ran sciatica, and it didn't do anything. So then it dawned on me, it's like, I was walking down the beach, and there was a soccer ball in the water, and our family was out in the ocean, and it was going to wash away, so I kicked it back to the towel, and it didn't make it. It rolled back to me. I kicked it again, and I'm like, all right, do I give up on this stupid ball, or am I committed? And so I kicked as hard as I could, and it went flying up past the towels. And I remember walking home, my right foot got numb. So I thought okay, that's what I did. I tore some muscles or ligaments or tendonitis, so I ran some of those protocols, and then like 48 hours, the pain was gone. So I misdiagnosed myself, right? It's like it wasn't sciatica, it was old man kicking a soccer ball without stretching first.
My mom has had fibromyalgia and chronic fatigue syndrome for a very long time, and nothing has really helped. So, yeah, I'd be interested in trying this on her. And if that's really interesting, because the testimonials you get must be very powerful.
They are.
Yeah.
Testimonies are super powerful. And you know what I ask people? Well, first of all, I answer your question. We have a really high success rate with people reporting back on fibromyalgia, right? Or any kind of neuropathy. So that's positive there. Again, it's not 100% for everyone, but most everyone has gotten a good response for it. I don't even want written testimonial. I don't want written testimonials from anyone because everyone thinks I made them up. So I want video testimonials. I have so many Facebook haters. It is unbelievable. They're just awful, awful people. There's constant. I can only get enough energy up like once a week to go in there and just start blocking them, right? Because there's just. Now my wife says, she goes, for every hater you get, how many thumbs up and hearts do you get? I go, about 20 or 30. She goes, well, concentrate on that and not the haters, right? But it's like, that is, I wish it didn't bother me. I shouldn't even say this part, but it does. I mean, I've gotten better. Like, really? You can't read this? I've been called Hitler. I've gotten death threats. I had one guy who said, here's my address in New York. Come to my house so I can kill you. And like, Facebook, how did you let him post that? I mean, and then your algorithm screams. So anyway, not to go down that dark hole, but yeah, getting lots of good feedback on nerve-related stuff.
Okay.
Not 100%, but nothing's 100%, but it's high. It's over 90.
I'll talk to my elder brother and see if he's open on going like halvesies. So we'll both pay for half of it. Then I'll try it on my mom. And what I'll do is I'll record her before we start it, right? And then do like in progress videos. So then you can have a before and after, and we can see if there's meaningful difference. And it can just be heard.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Here's a warning though.
Okay.
People are going to forget how bad they felt. So
That's why I need to get her to say on a scale of 1 to 10, how bad does it feel before we start?
exactly.
Yeah.
So just so you know, on PTSD, so example, I said it's 95, 98% success rate, depending on how I count it. But it's so the scale is 0 to 80. Okay, 80. If you're above 33, it's a PLC 5 test. It's what the Veterans Administration uses. If you're above 33, they're going to tell you have PTSD most likely. Okay. So we have a 98, 95, 98%, but bring that score down after 30 days. 2 out of 3 are clinically and statistically significant based on math. And that's good news. Bad news. About a third of the people will tell you, yeah, I don't know. I don't know if it helped me or not. So I do exactly what you just said. I do a before and after test, and then I get them on a Zoom call and I show them their score. I've had this happen so many times where literally they go, yeah, I'm not sure. And I go, you were at a 72 30 days ago. Now you just reported a 14. And they start crying, but then they won't let me use the testimonial because they're so crazy about crying. So it's like, okay, can I edit that? That's the best part I could ever use to show that. And I try to guilt them into, please let me use that video because you can save somebody else's life, literally.
Yeah.
Right? If somebody can see, hey, there's some hope there that something can be done. Fibromyalgia, like you said, is most doctors will tell you it's in your head and it's not real. But, I mean, there's so many. I hear that so often. People are so frustrated. It's like they got no solution for me. It's awful. It's full body pain. It sucks. So
it sounds like every household should have one of these, the same way you might have had a landline in the past.
That'd be awesome. Yeah, right. As get out as many as you can, but it's I mean, I know that's not realistic, but baby steps. If you go man on the street with a microphone and just go, hey, you ever heard of PEMF? 1 out of 20 people is going to tell you yes. It's getting more like 2 out of 20 now. And most people that know of it are going to know of a mat like that they had from the chiropractor or their doctor. And so people ask me to go, what's the difference between yours and a mat? Okay. It's 25 times more affordable. It's 1 piece instead of 8 pieces. It fits your pockets. Therapy on the go. You can take it on an airplane. You can drive with it. You can't do any of that with a mat. So that, I mean, I forget that I even have it in my pocket most of the time when I'm running protocol. I go to grab my cell phone and pull it out. It's the vibe. It's not the cell phone. You're like, okay.
So how often do you have this on? Is it like 24/7 or is it more like 8 hours a day or something?
So what we tell everyone to start with is 3 to 4 times a week for 30 days. And where that's coming from is back to the 8,000 practitioners in 35 years. That's in a doctor's office, and that's what they would have done. And if you don't get a response after 12 to 16, 15 sessions, and the diagnosis is wrong or it's not going to work. So that's what I tell people to do. They don't listen to me. Okay? I've got people that on the extreme of they ran asthma and they only need to do it once a month. They're just breathing fine. They forget about it until they can't breathe and then run it. More common is our customers are people that are physically or mentally in pain, and usually both, and nothing else has worked for them, right? So when this helps them, they're addicted to it. They're running it 8-10 hours a day, and I'm like, stop. You don't need to be doing it that much. You're overdoing it. You can't hurt yourself. Then anytime somebody calls me and goes, hey, it's making me tired. I go, well, how many times a day are you using it? And they go, 8. Stop. Okay, pick whatever your worst thing is. Run it once a day, maybe twice a day. But no, the average protocol is 30 minutes. They range 30 minutes to 2.5 hours. 2 hours and 40-something minutes now because I add some stuff to it. But about 40 minutes. And no, once a day, twice a day should be fine. But you get this. If somebody's fibromyalgia, somebody's had that for 20 years and they're running it twice a day and they feel good, they don't want to cut back. They're like, I'm not going to go experiment right on myself and go figure out, can I get away with twice a week? Because again, you just put it, the battery lasts 5 hours, you charge it overnight. And so I tell people don't overdo it, but they do anyway. But if your body doesn't need the energy and that frequency, it's not going to use it. So you can't overdose. You can make yourself tired if you use it way too much. Some people.
Good to know. I guess maybe someone's hyperactive. They can use it to tire themselves out.
It's interesting, like ADHD and stuff, which is one of the protocols that's on there. This exact protocol is used at the Cleveland Clinic, and they have a 75% success rate with that, with ADHD. And it's interesting, back to the reporting we were just talking about, people forget how they felt 30 days ago. The other test, and ask your mother this too, ask friends and family if they're any different. So before she starts, say, make a mental note, guys, your friends, family, your brother, and say, how's she behaving, blah, blah. And then in 30 days, let's have a family assessment, not an intervention, but a family assessment of, do you see a difference? Because with ADHD and stuff, a lot of times the teacher will call the parents and go, hey, you changed Johnny's drugs to something. What is it? Because maybe we can share it with the other parents. Like, we didn't change his drugs. We used this little device thing. You go, oh. So people will forget how bad they felt. You'll see it in stuff like, here's common lines. My husband never wants to go out and do anything, blah, blah, blah. We've gone to 2 parties and out to dinner 3 times in the last 10 days. He hasn't done that in years, right? He never wants to go to the ball game and do this. Hey, we went and did this last Saturday. We haven't done that in 3 years. So, and then you'll ask the husband, will go, yeah, I don't know, right? A lot of times. So a lot of times just ask the people around you and see if you're behaving different, if they think you are. So that's probably your best litmus test, subjective, guidance as well. The other thing too, because everyone gets into, right? Excuse me. The gold standard still on pain or anything is like analog visual scale, right? 0 to 10, what am I, blah, blah. Excuse me. Came in as an 8 and I left as a 3. Now, something like this or Fitbit 3, this is a $79. Excuse me one second. Something in my throat. But you can measure things like sleep and heart rate variability, and that gives you a good measurement of just overall, am I feeling better or not?
Makes sense. Yeah. No worries. Take your time.
Yeah. Sorry about that.
It's okay. I had a police siren in the background, so I had to mute my mic as well.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So I'll look into it. Do you know if you plan to run a sale or discount anytime soon?
Is what?
Do you know if you plan to run a sale or discount anytime soon that I should look out for?
Well, what we'll do is, I retail for $399 for your podcast listeners and stuff. I will give them $150 off and get it for $249.
Wow.
Because you hosted me, I'll send you one of the pre-owned units for free. That's fine. Then you can test it out.
Wow. I would really appreciate that. That's awesome.
Yeah. So what we'll do is, what do you want to call? So it'll be Resona.health/something. It could be the name of your podcast. Or
Yeah. Vamsi is fine. VAMSI. My name.
/.
Yeah.
Okay, we'll do that, and I'll create a new landing page for you today, and you just point everyone to that. They can go learn, so they can get the discount there, and they can go learn as much as they want to. They can go to a flyer, to I have a 22-minute infomercial that a good friend of mine did, to the book I just said, to if they want to go to the research center, I've curated 100 studies or something, and then they can go to PubMed themselves and just start typing in PEMF or whatever. And those are your listeners that are using ChatGPT. Put that in. Give me all of the PEMF studies been done for this condition, and list them for me with references. That's what I'm doing right now to build this whole library. So yeah, it's pretty powerful stuff.
Yeah, I've heard of people using ChatGPT to go through medical research and academic literature, and it's very helpful just summarizing things and so on. So it's good.
You got to be careful that you got to fact check it because it's not always right.
Yeah.
I contacted one doctor, says, hey, you did this study and such and such. He goes, I never did that study because I was looking for the report. The actual report. I didn't do that. I don't know why I did that. It's like, well, because it's not 100%. Nothing is. But it's ChatGPT, though, is, I don't know, I use it all the time for a lot of different things. It wrote a book for me Saturday.
Wow.
So write me a book on PEMF for horses that needs to be about this long, that covers these 10 ailments, and don't repeat yourself like a robot. That's what I told it. And it went, now give me pictures. I need a futuristic looking horse. I need 20 of them. It's funny. I kept going 20 more, 20 more, 20 more, 20 more. It told me, hey, you're banging our server. You're working me too hard. Go away for 2 minutes. Go get something to drink and come back, and then you can ask me again. That's exactly what I did, and then it gave me all the rest of the pictures. It wanted me to slow down. Give it a break.
On that topic, I just listened to an interview with Elon Musk. Jordan Peterson was interviewing him, and he talked about how they had managed to build sort of a supercomputer facility in Memphis to train their Grok version 3, I think. And he said Grok version 3 was going to be way more advanced than ChatGPT 4, I think is what it's on. 4? Yeah.
I'm on 4, right?
And they also discussed how ChatGPT has a tendency to lie. And they were trying to figure out, why is that? And it seems part of the issue is, OpenAI and the people, or what Elon Musk calls the woke mind virus. But really, it's just sort of our moralistic views being imposed upon the AI, right? Like Google's Gemini, I think someone had put in, show me a picture of the founding fathers, and it showed like a bunch of women because it was trying to be diverse.
What?
Women. It showed a bunch of women as the founding fathers of America because it was trying to be diverse.
Yeah. Okay.
So that's the kind of thing that can infect it. And I think someone else asked, like, what would be worse if the world went into thermonuclear warfare or somebody misgendered, is it Caitlyn? Right? Yeah.
Yeah.
Caitlyn Jenner. Yeah. And people were like, it responded, yeah, if someone misgendered, that would be worse, Jenner. And I was like, wow, this is insane. So that's what Elon Musk is trying to fix with Grok. So when that's available, hopefully we see some better results. And he's aiming to have it capable of understanding text input, audio, video, images, all of it.
I know he's lost his mind with rockets here because I live in Cocoa Beach, Florida. It's like there's a SpaceX going on. I don't even know when they're going anymore. I hear them when it's, and where I'm at my house, I'm 10, 12 miles away. By the time I hear it, it's already at the end of its trajectory, so I can't really watch it much. But yeah, there's an app that you need better because they still suck. One that tells you and gives you a text that says a launch is going in 20 minutes. Still don't have that. I mean, Spaceflight Now doesn't have that. Anyway. That's another app that somebody needs, but it's especially if you live here on the Space Coast. But no. So, all right. This is fun.
Yeah. Yeah, initially when you told me that you got bored working at NASA because you couldn't change anything, I thought, oh, this must be why so many people want to work at SpaceX. Because you get to work on rockets and innovate.
Most people that work at SpaceX will tell you Elon's working them to death.
Yes.
The quote around here is, I served my time at SpaceX. I mean, I've heard multiple engineers say that because he's working them so hard. But I'll just tell you, I mean, besides being offered a promotion on the shuttle program, one of the reasons I left in that same time frame when I was trying to figure it out right after the launch, NASA guy manager put his hand on my shoulder and goes, Mark, give me the same piece of shit motors next time. I was like, God, I just went home and I went, that's so sad. He's serious. It's like, so you can't, it's kind of like, I teach something called SAFE. What is the definition of SAFE? Because like when a journalist puts a mic in your mouth, face and goes, is it safe to launch? You have to say yes or no. You can't say there's 22,000 defects on average on a rocket and they've all been dispositioned to be acceptable. You can't say that. So you have to do, so I've always struggled with, how do you answer that question? And if you go look up safe in the dictionary, it says, free from risk or harm. Well, that isn't true at all. Is it safe to breathe air? Not always. Is it safe to get in a car? Definitely not always. Is it safe to eat that food? A lot of times, no. So, but you do that, so what are you doing in your head? And I finally concluded it's this simple. The perceived benefits outweigh the perceived risks. And your perception's not right. It's just a perception, and the person you're talking to or negotiating with, the perception's not right. So,
yeah, one of my favorite stories is like reading that report of the Challenger rocket and what went wrong, and the analysis by Richard Feynman, and then the story of him, having warned them and then discussing with them after.
No, that's all bullshit.
It's all bullshit. Oh, what actually happened?
Wow. Okay. So first of all, Richard Feynman, brilliant guy, obviously, but him putting O-rings in ice water to show the rubber gets stiff. No kidding. Everyone in the world knows what shrinkage is, right? You put something in cold water, it's going to shrink. That's not what happened. We give you the short version because it's a long version. Short version is the solid rocket boosters have never postponed a launch ever because they can't. because then you light them, they go. Okay, it's only the main engines and the computers and everything else on the orbiter that can shut it down. The launch before Challenger was the first time the solid rocket boosters ever stopped the launch because the ocean waves were too high. Okay, we had almost killed a diver, getting brain damage, got sucked inside the motor and sucked because the waves were too high. Things bopping up and down. You got to put a cork in the bottom of it, pump the water out, blah, blah. So we made a new rule. NASA and the contractor. There's a certain wave height. I can't remember what it was. I think it was like 7-foot waves, something like that. But we were over the wave thing. And the launch before is like, I won't say his name, but you can go look up the history of it at NASA Marshall Space Flight Center. He's like, why can't we launch? Because the ocean waves are too high. He goes, who made up that stupid rule? You did, along with us. Right? He goes, no, I'm not. So he didn't want to postpone the launch. He goes, what if I just let them sink? Just screw it. Don't recover them. I'm like, you're the customer. It's your hardware. You paid for it. You can do what you want. That's what he did. Let them sink. Hey, watch the water, sat in the boats. They splashed back in the ocean. They sank. My theory, I can't prove this piece, is some bean counter filled out some piece of paper that said, that guy ain't got authority to throw away $20 million of hardware. He only has authority for 5. So this guy ends up in Washington, D.C., speaking to NASA bosses, probably who he's never met, explaining, why'd you throw $20 million worth of tax? But now he's pissed. Okay? Then Challenger happened, and we said the next launch was like, it's in the direction of badness. And they, first time ever in the history of the program that he went, prove it's not safe to fly. Well, that's an insane statement, right? But that was the attitude. And he was like, and he started asking questions like, is it out of specification or not? Is it safe or not? Right? That kind of. Well, the correct answer is two right answers. No, it's not out of specification, but there's no specification for temperature of O-rings. So that's a trick question. NASA never had one, right? So I'm going to end this story because they get longer and longer. But basically, the O-rings failed. They failed because the external tank that has liquid hydrogen oxygen leaks a lot. So it's 420 below zero and 252 below zero, 423, right? We went out, so it turned it into O-rings in the glass because the external tank leaked on it, not because it was 36 degrees out. Okay? All that got reported, initial stuff, and then all the journalists swept it away and like, I don't want to report that. Okay? And so that's what happened. But it was 36 degrees out. I was there at the launch pad that day. I know what I'm talking about. The boosters were 9 degrees and 14, which is impossible with a lot of wind. And everyone goes, well, that's exactly what happened. A journalist goes, well, can't that be wind chill? And the professor goes, no, it can't be wind chill. She goes, ha ha ha. She laughed and they cut the interview. It was like weird, right? Wind chill only works if you have a heartbeat. Okay? You got to be living.
It's a perception.
It's a perception of wind chill, right? So if it's windy and it's 36 degrees out, everything around it should have been 36 degrees, but it's not. It's 9 and 14, so something was leaking on it. There's only one thing that has cold stuff there. So we know that's what happened. I do, right? I wrote up papers on it, got in a lot of trouble. Anyway, the good news is Ronald Reagan was on a call with all the contractors and people pointing fingers, and Ronald Reagan said, blippity blibbly, this is the most advanced technical thing in the world. Everyone shut that blankety blank up and go fix it. That's it. So we were in the limelight, Morton Thiokol was, for 2.5 years with O-rings. They didn't mention anything about Martin Metty and fixing the tank, but they spent twice as much as we did. And then Rocketdyne spent 4 times more fixing the turbine blades because those were the real problems. The O-rings really weren't. O-rings were a problem, but they weren't nowhere near what the turbine blades were. And I went way too long in that whole answer, but the black and white management's an idiot. Feynman warned people. Feynman wasn't involved in anything until afterwards, right? So all the crap you read in these college textbooks, and I've been asked to come speak on it. I'm like, no. Well, I'm going to give you the version I just did because I was there. And that's what really happened. It wasn't management being stupid. It's a rocket. It's a 6 million pound bomb that you're trying to control, right? You can make it a lot safer by giving a guy a backpack and a satellite this big. But if you want to put 7 astronauts up there in a school bus satellite, it requires energy. You got to push it, right? So anyway, it's always frustrating. You can tell I get a little worked up even this many years later. Somebody tried to push me out of a ski lift chair when he found out I worked there, tried to kill me in like 86.
Yikes.
Right? basically all that for, right? It's people see what they see on the news. It's not the truth. There's some truth sprinkled in there, but most of it, the real story is what I basically just told you.
Well, yeah, thank you. I appreciate you correcting that for me, because I do consider myself a truth seeker, and I try to look under the rocks even when it's uncomfortable and try to see what's really there.
Right.
So yeah,
Good for you. Good for you. Yeah. It's okay. Cool.
that makes sense. Yeah. And going back to entrepreneurship, there's this idea that one way that you hire A tier talent, the best people, is to have a very clear mission that they can get behind. So Elon Musk, all of his companies are about saving the world, one way or another. At least that's what he makes them about. And I think that helps get people who are willing to be worked to the bone in pursuit of, let's get to Mars, or let's solve this problem. Let's get internet across the world with Starlink and so on. Let's get electric vehicles normalized. So your company also seems to me that way. And I was also thinking about this fact that some large percentage of people, if they're diagnosed with an illness, they won't take the medication, they won't treat themselves, they won't take care of themselves. But if their dog is diagnosed with something, they will go to the vet, they'll get the pills, and they'll medicate the dog until it's solved. So really the pet angle, it shouldn't be true, but it is true that people will fight for their pets more than they'll fight for themselves.
Sadly, a lot of what you just said is true for sure. The people that buy this device, there's three avatars, I guess, real quick. The first one is, as I said, is they're either mentally or physically in pain or both, and they haven't found anything else that works, or they got a drug that works, but the side effects are awful. There's some reason, it's just they haven't found the right solution. They're skeptical as hell, but it's like, okay, try it. That's why I have a 30-day money-back guarantee, and I'll even extend that if people need it. Or it's just like, I don't want anyone to have one. It didn't work for them. Give me your money back. I get asked, all the Facebook haters like, scam, 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 scam. I go, can anyone explain how it's a scam and I'm making money if I give your money back if it didn't work? And no, they just go, loser, Hitler. They just keep yelling, right? It's like, so that's the one avatar. The second one is if somebody is into amorous crystals, incense, heavy meditators, voodoo, they're an easy sell. They find the product and then the third one is doctors, right? As they'll have somebody come in, their A1C is great and the blood sugar is great, and it hasn't been for 10 years. And they'll go, hey, so you finally started changing your diet and doing exercise? No, I didn't do any of that. Well, what'd you do? Well, I started using this thing. And they go, what the hell is that? So then they call me, what is this? So then I have to walk them through a summary of what we just talked about. So then I get more and more wholesalers and doctors signing up, spa owners and stuff too. They see the benefit and it's working, but they wouldn't have, they didn't learn that in any, remediary every 2-year boondog will learn more about medicine, right? They just, their patients are telling them about it. It's like, hey, this is what I did. I got this thing. So they get, like I said, dogs, cats, owners and stuff. And then horses is a big one because anyone that has, not anyone, the majority of people have an expensive horse. They know what this technology is because it's MagnaWave owns the market. It's a big, big machine with big rings. So they know what magnetic therapy is, and they've seen what it's done for the horse. But my theory, and I'm going to prove it, hope or come close to it, you don't need that much energy. This little device will work. Because a horse and a dog and a cat are way more energy sensitive than a human being. And almost every horse owner will tell you that. Hell yeah, they are, even though they're a 2,000-pound animal. So we're getting some, I'm just, for our call right here, I'm going to a horse trade show in Dallas next month, and I'm putting a video together. I got horses that are like skitsy, crazy, right? And then all of a sudden, there's one of them fell asleep in the owner's lap. Just dropped to his knees and put its head in its lap. This other lady's like, this one jumps around like a squirrel all the time, and you can't ever do it. So I ran the device. I went about, did my thing, came back, and his butt was turned towards me. His head was in the corner. I'm like, somebody gave him more hay. And she got mad. She's like, who gave him more hay? And she walks over there. He's sleeping with his chin on this food bucket. One that, of course, it was just so amped up all the time. And we got a video of him walking around. And so, anyway, that's some fun, cool stuff to see horses and dogs. My sinister plan is I like dogs more than people anyway, right? So I can help dogs. And that's how I started, right? Was arthritis in my dog, which I unfortunately didn't get to treat because she got so sick so fast. But so it's I'll tell you, Pansy, it's and not making any money yet. I already said that, but this is the funnest job I've ever had. Right? It's cool. You get to wake up and do things. It's fun.
I think that's the dream, and then just figuring out how to make it sustainable. Like for me, this podcast was, I did the third episode, and I was in the shower after that, and I was like, yeah, I'm going to quit my job. Like this is what I want to do for a lifetime. I'm going to figure it out. So yeah, I think when you discover that, it's really, I felt fortunate at 28 to have found it. And I'm really glad you found this. I'm going to connect you with Ron. He's the person I just spoke with before this call. And he actually mentors people because he loves puzzles in the business sense. He loves to build a business from 0 to 1 million, and then he gets bored with it. So he literally owned 40 businesses and he sold all of them. And he joked that, his wife got mad at him because he would get the business to a point where, the exponential growth curve is just starting to take off. And she's like, you've just got the money tree growing and now you're about to sell it, but he has plenty of money, so it doesn't matter to him. But he tells me that he's been in business less than a year and he's helped 21 people reach $1 million in their business. So I'm going to connect him with you. I have a feeling he'll get a kick out of your business because it's so basically he says it's kind of like having grandkids. He gets to vicariously live through his students and see their businesses grow, but he doesn't have to deal with the implementation or the employees or the headaches, right? He just gets to have all the fun stuff. Yeah, customer service, complaints, Facebook haters.
Yeah, that's great. No, thank you for doing that. That'd be fantastic. I appreciate it a lot.
Yeah, and based on the way he spoke with me and his experience, it's really interesting. He's about Dunning-Kruger, I'm sure, right? And most people think of you don't Dunning-Kruger? Okay. Basically, just I think it was a series of studies on competence and perception of competence, and basically they found that novices tend to overestimate their own skill at something, and then once they become an expert, they tend to underestimate their skill and also overestimate everyone else's. It becomes the new norm. So he was talking about how, it's super easy to get a business to $1 million. And I was like, for you, but not for everyone. And he was like, yeah, but for him, it's just like breathing. So I think it'll be a good fit, and he'll be able to get your product out there. And the other thing I wanted to mention is really your product is so impactful that for the right person who experiences it, they kind of just become a lifelong ambassador. Have you had that happen with anyone?
Yeah, absolutely. So I've got, I tell you a story. Is this lady, she's a doctor, she's an MD. She contacted me about 8 months ago, maybe a year ago, and she goes, so can I ask you, did it come from this core blah, blah, blah? Ago? Yeah. She goes, I wrote that protocol 18 years ago. She goes, I had a Green Beret, retired Green Beret with severe PTSD, and got ready to treat him. And he goes, don't you dare treat me for PTSD because I don't believe in any of that bullshit. Right? So she goes, okay. So she did. She treated him for PTSD, just didn't tell him, right? So I think it was like 3 months later, he comes in and she goes, he was a big, big man, huge Green Beret guy. He goes, let me have your hands for a minute. So he held her hand. She was scared. She didn't know what he was going to do. And he goes, did you treat me for PTSD?
He's lie detecting her.
And she goes, yes, I did. He goes, here's what I want you to do. I want you to dedicate a huge part of your life to figure out how to make these devices so they're affordable for the general public, because you've changed my life completely. And she goes, I've never been able to do that. She goes, I don't have the engineering capability. I got in a car wreck, and so it had some brain issues and stuff where she goes, I can't really think like that long enough. And she goes, so I've been super frustrated because I made this guy a promise. A couple years later, actually, he got cancer, I believe, and died. She was like, I never could satisfy that thing. And she goes, then I found you. And that's exactly what you did. It was a weird connection that she goes, did you get it from here? I'm like, that's where I got it. She goes, I wrote it. And she goes, let me see what you got. She goes, did you take out? Like I said, I didn't take out anything. She goes, I knew they'd take that out. Put these 3 frequencies back in there because I know what I'm talking about. So that's why when I said 2.5 hours to 2 hours and 40 minutes or something, is I had to add those frequencies back in. So that was cool thing, right? And so I get more and more stories like that. I've got Donny Osmond's brother has MS, so he's running the protocol right now. Rocky Sylvester Stallone, his brother's running it for a number of issues. So I'm getting some people like that just are finding me, which is kind of fun just to do a Zoom call with those guys. Like, say hi to Sly for me.
Nice.
Yeah. Anyway, we could go on and on and on forever because you can tell I can go down a lot of rabbit holes on this. So.
Yeah, I'm just thinking like there was some mango candy thing that like basically one person made a TikTok video about it, and it was completely organic. I don't think it was a paid ad, but it went viral. And then they were literally sold out across the country, and then people were reselling it on eBay at higher prices. And there was a whole black market for this thing. And I was just so that seems to be the new potential for any product that has an impact on people.
I'm trying to. So along those lines, I mean, again, anxiety is the number one ailment for all human beings in every culture across the planet. It is. Every person in the world has had anxiety at some point in their life. So I'm trying to. I know I can't imagine, but I try to a little bit as the amount of stress 18 to 24-year-old girls go through, right, with anxiety and all that stuff. So I'm trying to do that on TikTok now is get some videos, but I do not want a paid ad. I want to run the ads, but I don't want to pay somebody for the ad. And I've told them that you have to have anxiety, right, or one of these conditions because I want authentic videos. I don't want any stage thing like that. So I just posted that like yesterday. So I'm looking for some people to try it, right, and see if it really helps them. I mean, it's honestly, I don't want to start crying because I don't want to get into the suicides and the calls I've gotten of people getting kidnapped and broken ribs and they got guns in their mouths and they want to kill, right? And then now they don't. And it's pretty freaky, right? It's like get calls like that. I have my own trauma, obviously, from having to talk to people like that or in emails. Literally, people, one lady's like 4 broken ribs, broke my collarbones. He held me hostage for a year and a half, kept shooting me up with heroin so I couldn't escape. It's like all kinds of horror stories. Like one guy in Canada, his son-in-law shot and killed his daughter, his grandson, and shot the granddaughter in the head but didn't kill her. And he's like, we have one of your devices and it's helping all of us. We want another one, but we can't afford one right now. Can we get one on like, hey, so I just sent him a couple like here, right? You know, so it's trying to deal with that. It's emotional, right? It's some real stuff. And I told it because it's been me and the fish the whole time. I don't have any investors. I don't have anything. I just hired one lady to help me. She's fantastic. April 1st. But I warned her, you're answering phones and emails. Here's some of the stuff you're going to have to. It ain't just stuffing envelopes and answering emails. These are real people that you're talking to. They got real things that are broken. And we have to constantly tell them, we are not your doctor. Because when I started the company, right, this was the only phone number I had was my cell phone. So I've got 5,000 people that know my freaking cell phone number. I've had 6 calls since I've been sitting here. It's like, I'm not your personal doctor. Okay, please, here's the recommendations. Go look at this, do the research here. Here's a suggestion, but I'm not a doctor. I can't prescribe stuff and diagnose and call it, any of that. So anyway, there you have it.
Yeah, the last thing I'll say on the marketing front, I mean, I'm just super passionate about it. You see those books behind me, right?
Right.
Alex Hormozy wrote them. I don't know if you've heard of him, but
How to?
Alex Hormozy.
Maybe. I don't know. When you say that, like, it's like, I don't know who they are. It's like, dude, I'm surrounded by the Wizard Academy. Every single person I know is an author, has written multiple books. So it's like, I know some of them, but it's like, I don't know. When you say that, I say I don't know them. I could probably go over here and see I read their books. I just don't remember doing it because my library, when I had time, was monstrous. I read so many books.
Yeah, he's on YouTube. I think he has 2.5 million subscribers now. He's grown quite quickly. Basically, his story is I think he went from $1,000 to 100 million in 44 months, roughly. And now he's helping small businesses grow and he's acquiring bigger ones and growing them.
Well, how do you spell his last name?
Hormozi. So Alex Hormozy. He's Persian, I think, Iranian.
if I go Google, then I probably might recognize them or something. Because I have some friends too. Is like they'll say that you don't know who so and so, and I have a couple people in my network that know every single person. I don't know how, but they are networked with every single person. It's like okay, like Lady Gaga, right? She's got fibromyalgia, and I've got a friend who's friends with her. I'm like, get this device in her hands. He goes, nah, she posted some stuff about Trump on Facebook. I'm not talking to her anymore. I don't care about her political view. I'm trying to help her, right? Or comedians, I hear like comedian stuff like how they suffer from anxiety. I'm trying to get devices to them just to get them to try it, and you can't get past the agents and stuff. And that's always frustrating. So
Yeah, it only takes one breakthrough, and then you'll have someone trusted that can then reach everyone else. But yeah, so
like my friend who's friends with Joe Rogan, he's like, I can get you on Rogan's podcast, next week, but he's going to want like 90% of the company. I'm like, okay, well, don't make that call.
I mean, would Joe ask for 90% of the company before you come on the show? I would think he'd do it after, right? Would it be a precondition of?
These two hang out. I mean, they're buddies and friends. They hang out together. He said a half jokingly, but he really wasn't joking. He's going to want something like that.
Okay.
He might exaggerate a little bit. It's like, yeah, I'm growing. I think I'm the fastest growing PMF company. I'm spending a lot of money on ads, but month over month, I think I'm probably the fastest.
What are your best performing ads?
All of them are going to be video testimony. All of the ads are going to be the remarketing ads that they're going to see after they saw the ad, and we're going to target them to that we try to use the user-generated content, right? They're testimonials from people that I've never paid anyone for a testimonial. They're authentic stuff. Those are the best ads. So, and all my marketing friends across the board will tell you the user-generated content is the highest conversion rates, highest click-through rates and stuff. So it's not necessarily a category like anxiety or PTSD. I think one of the home runs will probably be blood sugar because they can measure it. They're measuring it already. So it's one of the ones that has a biomarker where they call me up and go, my blood sugar went from 200 to 100 in 30 minutes. How is that possible? I need answers, damn it. They start slamming the hand on the table, Mike, because it does that, right? So that one, and then we won't get into erectile dysfunction and that kind of thing because I get all kinds of calls from 75-year-old guys telling me about what it's doing for their sex life and stuff. Like, I don't need to know. Thank you for the fee. If you want to give me a video testimonial, fine, but don't just call me on my cell phone out of the blue and talk to me about the greatest sex you had. You might do this. It's like, okay, yeah. So, and that prostate's a big one too. People, 75-year-old, I'm 62, 75-year-old men that have prostate are mean, angry people, right? And then when they get some relief, man, they go from vicious to heaven, right? So I don't have a good answer, and it's like part of the part that's afraid to even say this. The most frustrating thing I have in the company right now, okay, this is part of entrepreneurship. Facebook lies by 300% in my case. They tell me this is how many sales I got from that ad. No, because I have coupon codes and tracking stuff. It's impossible. They report more money through their ads than I do for the entire company. And they're worthless. You get them online. They're like, we looked at the data and we're right, you're wrong. Well, I know I'm not right. I can't be. It's 2 + 2 = chicken. Okay, you can't say this is $100,000 in sales when I only have 40. You can't take credit. So that's very frustrating with all the double counting and things and the algorithms that's happening across a bunch of platforms. That's very frustrating because you don't know where to spend the money on the marketing. So the reason I'm elaborating on that part is like, I wish I could pick a camp. That's the biggest issue I have right now in the company. And I've hired 4 or 5 different metrics people. And hopefully next week I have like one of the best guys on the planet figure out how the hell do you measure this stuff so I can make an informed decision because I can't. Yeah, it's frustrating. You can tell I've had a cough, head cold going for a couple of days. So,
do you run Google Ads as well?
Yeah, I run Google and Facebook pages, but I have the same problem.
So Alex was saying he did an analysis on 2,500 of his ads, and he found that the top, like 40 of the top 50 performing ads were proof, and the other 10 were kind of a subset of proof. So by proof, he means literally just evidence of the product's effectiveness. So he said one of the simplest ads that performed really well for him was him going in the Facebook group of customers and posting, "Can you share your success stories from using our product?" And then people posted comments. And then the ad apparently is literally just him scrolling on his phone through those comments. And that's it. No voice, nothing. And that was one of his best performing ads.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
So I think people just really like seeing proof. And the problem with the video testimonial is it's one person. But if you're scrolling through a bunch of comments, that's hundreds of people or tens of people. And I think that it really hammers home to people, wow. And you could be scrolling down and they're seeing like, oh my God, it helps someone with diabetes. Oh, it helps someone with MS. Oh, it helped. And they're just overloaded by what I would call like positive feedback and thinking, oh, okay. And they start imagining the possibilities of, and then they might buy it. Yeah.
Yeah, and the reason I went down, I'll tell you why I went down, a couple of reasons. Go down past the video testimonials. Now, the disclaimer, the government can shut you down for anything or for no reason at all. However, video testimonials is my strongest defense because it's First Amendment rights for free speech.
Right.
Right? Those person, this is, Vamsy ran this, Steve ran that. This is what it did for them. I didn't put those words in their mouth. I didn't script any of that. And then when people ask me, what do you want me to say? I ain't give you any guidance. Say something nice if it helped you. If it didn't, say it didn't help you, right? It's people are, you got the whole TikTok world and younger guys and stuff, like always on, but the majority of people that aren't like that, or even when you ask for it in this context, they're scared of the camera suddenly. So, I mean, I have like 75 video testimonials on the website or something. I should have 700. They're hard to get from people because they're just like, I don't, especially like I said, they're broken, right? They're hurting mentally and physically. They don't want to go admit, here was the before and after and for eternity and have that on video and have all their friends see it, right? Or their boss, right? Or what if my employer sees that? I mean, I get that a lot. It's like, I don't want to go do that. I try to guilt them a little bit. It's like, you could save somebody's life, but I get it. If you don't want to do that, I can't force you to. So I wish I had many, many, many more videos, but I don't. But yeah, your idea of if I had that, or I'm reluctant to do anything with Facebook but run ads and block people because there's all the haters. Like, I don't know if I have enough energy to manage that piece of it, right? Because people ask me, why don't you do a support group, blah, blah, blah. I'm like, because I don't want to be on that 8 hours a day. Maybe at some point I could hire somebody to do that, to, facilitate it. But my wife, so talking about multiple companies, and so my wife last year goes, how many companies have you started in the last 10 years? I'm like, I don't know. She goes, go in there and count them. Like, okay, it's 12. Okay. So her answer is like, don't build anything else. Don't do anything else till you make this thing profitable. Okay. Because I borrowed a bunch of money from her. Now, yeah, I can't afford the divorce, but there's the watch. Okay. Probably going to get killed for that. We don't have it out yet. And all the listeners and stuff, you're not going to see it for a while. You may never see that. A pendant that I just designed this weekend for Vegas nerve. That it's going to be like a little bar pendant that's just going to sit as a necklace. We'll have that in 2-3 months. It's not going to put out as much power because it can't. You get the form factor. Because people go, hey, I don't want a 5-hour battery. I want a 12-hour battery. I'm like, well, it's going to look like a football. And you got to put it around your neck. So it's got to weigh a certain weight. You got all those trade-offs, right? I was like, because it does put out energy. I mean, it's putting out a max of 9 Gauss, which is low, but it's still a lot higher than some of the devices that are out there. For the mats that I just compared it to, it's 8 times stronger. They put out 1 Gauss. This puts out 8 to 9. So it's anyway, like I said, it's fun. It's like there's always something new every day. It's almost comical with the I don't want to slam my customers, but just you got to be kidding me. Emails that I get every morning. It's like, what did they just ask me? It's like, you did what? It's like, okay, you can write 5 books just on the customer experience of, wow, people. Okay, I don't know how you decided to do that with it, but there you go. It's funny because like every time a woman calls me and goes, what happens if I get it wet? I go, quit dropping it in the toilet. She goes, are you a psychic? How do you know it went in the toilet? I go, that's the only way you can get it wet. What do you guys do in the bathroom? I don't understand. It's in your bra, or you in your pants, you're pulling pants out, you forget it's there. I don't know. I've had lots of them go to the toilet. We have a blog post on rice will not work. Get a blow dryer immediately and dry that damn thing. Because the rice is going to suck enough water out of there. So, yeah. Haven't had a guy admit that he's dropped in the toilet yet, but have women doing it all the time.
Yeah, that's one of my fears is dropping my phone in the toilet. And it's not even the rice thing. It's just like I don't want dirty toilet water on my phone. Right?
Exactly
Yeah.
right.
So I'm very careful with my phone around that. But yeah, Mark, it's been great having you. I initially wanted this to be mainly about entrepreneurship, but I'm actually glad it became a lot more about some other stuff as well as the company and the product, because I actually think this product is worth advertising. Like, I think it's worth being an ambassador for. So I'll use it and
Appreciate that.
I'll document the results and send them to you. And if they work, I'm going to tell everyone I know. Because
Thank you.
like my friend has 2 dogs and I know one of them. One of the first times I was over at his house and she just peed all over the floor and then I helped him clean it up. And it was just interesting. So I'm sure this could help her, right?
Absolutely. Yeah. Relax and balance is what you're going to run in anxiety. It'll definitely help dogs. And I mentioned this earlier, dogs and cats and horses, if they don't like it, first of all, they'll come over to it. A dog will lay next to it. A cat will lay next to it. If they don't like it, high probability you're running the wrong protocol. It's not what your cat has. They got something else. So just think about that. But yeah, and we have these little bandanas made for dogs around the neck. It's cool, but they'll come lay on it as well. But yeah, I will send you a device. Yeah, just give me some feedback, try it and stuff. Doesn't work for anything, call me, because usually I'm going to go, as we say in the card, you bought it for a reason. Don't return it till you talk to us because you're probably doing something wrong. The number one issue is people are turning the power level down and they don't know it. They won't read the 3-minute, they won't watch the 3-minute video instruction. So I created it. My wife goes, I'll show you that. She goes, that is the dumbest thing ever. And I'm like, because we have an app you can put on your phone that will show you exactly quantitatively the magnetic strength, right? But people too lazy, whatever, get the app, they don't understand. So I invented this little thing. It's just a magnet in a bottle. You put it on the coil. You can see and hear it, right? That's how you prove that it's working. So I put this in every single order. Mike, did you test it with the magnetic field tester? I don't have one of those. Yeah, you do. It looks like this. Put it on there. So jump around. Mine's not moving at all. I told you it was broken. Well, it ain't broke. You have your power level at 0. It's embarrassing because I have to go, can you please send me a picture? They go, it's at 10. Can you please send me a picture? I'm not. Please. They go, do you think I'm stupid? It's at 10. I know how to read. I'm like, can you just send me a video picture? So they send it to me. It's always at 0. It's like, you turn it down from 10 to 0. So then even my Gabby, the lady I hired in April, was like, why don't we just get rid of the power level? Well, about 8%, 5 to 8% of people can't handle it. It's too high a power for them. So if they're energy sensitive, plus I don't want to redesign the whole thing just because people won't watch 3 minutes of instruction. But I mean, how do you politely say that to people? It's like, how do they just ask all these questions? You just asked me 7 questions. The amount of time it's going to take me to answer the 7, if you watch this 3-minute video, would answer all those plus 20 other things as people. And I tried my hardest to design it to look like an iPod, right, in the old days, so it's familiar. And here's another trick. See the colors on there?
Yeah.
See bar? I purposely made them the same colors as Star Trek tricorder from the 70s.
Yeah.
So if anyone looked at it, it might have some familiarity with the color. Phones go like that with the tricorder. But people still like, because the original iPod that came out, right, was so easy. It had no instructions. It was pause, play, scroll up, down. So that's what we tried to do, was the same type of thing.
Yeah.
Most people can figure it out without reading the instructions. It's easy. You scroll. It's alphabetical. You scroll the one you want. You hit play and you put it in your pocket. I don't know how to make it any easier. But, again, thank you so much for having me. This is fun.
Yeah. Thanks for being on. And anyone who's listening, there'll be a discount code in the description. And you're getting $150 off a $400 product. That's almost 40%. That's a massive discount. And I assume you can do that because, like you said, a lot of your money is spent on ads. So if you don't have to spend ads to reach the customer, then you can pass the savings on to them. So that's great.
Don't make a lot of money at that price. I wish you could make them super, super cool. Like I said, they don't cost a whole lot to make, but it's the advertising and the support and stuff. And,
Yeah.
Again, we're not rolling in the money here. Like I said, I don't pay myself anything. Hopefully, I do someday because I can't afford the divorce.
Yeah. I mean, I think if anyone like if there's a company that deserves to be profitable, it's this one. So
Thank you.
I'll do everything I can to
Appreciate
help
it.
you get there. All right. Thanks, Mark.
Awesome. Thank you so much. Take care.